Alright, so post-fight reaction time for Kosei Tanaka versus Acosta, where Tanaka successfully defended his WBO light flyweight championship against the 16-0 with 16 knockouts, now 16-1 with 16 knockouts. Acosta, of course, Tanaka improves to 8-1 with 5 knockouts, and what was a pretty impressive display. The judges scored it a unanimous decision for Tanaka, 117 to 110 on two of the judges' scorecards. Third judge had it 116 to 111. I personally had it 116 to 111. But without further ado, let me get to the action and let you guys know exactly why I scored it that way. Oh yeah, by the way, link will be in the description box so that you guys can check it out as well. Hopefully, they don't mess around with the link, and hopefully they'll still, you'll be able to replay it basically because it's the same link as what the live stream was. But yeah, Acosta started off pretty quick. Tanaka started off a little bit slow. I was wondering if maybe cutting weight to 108 might be catching up to him the same way that it had been at 105, considering the fact that he was down heavy against Vic Soledad when he came back to knock him out. But Acosta was showing some good skills, good hand speed, good foot speed. And all in all, I'm thinking that Tanaka may have been kind of taking the early rounds a little bit slow, simply to kind of gauge exactly what Acosta had in terms of speed, power, etc. Acosta's overall skill set looked like it was definitely there. He was looking like he was truly boxing at a pretty high level, to be able to compete with Tanaka. And actually, I thought Acosta won. He basically swept the first 3 rounds. Tanaka, as I mentioned before, was a little bit slow to kind of get going, get into a rhythm. It seemed like by the time the end of the third round occurred, as well as the kind of the intro of the fourth round, is when Tanaka really got going, especially when. Like kind of midway, there was a couple of nice exchanges in the fourth round, and then finally in the fifth round, Tanaka actually floored Acosta with a big right uppercut counter that just caught Acosta completely by surprise. Acosta had been throwing in combination throughout the entire fight, kind of sticking and moving, comboing and moving. And in the midst of one of the combos that he was throwing at Tanaka as he was kind of making a forward charge, he just got caught with a brilliant right uppercut from Tanaka. Just a beautifully timed shot. Tanaka, of course, he followed up as he tends to do, with heavy shots, especially to the body, but as well as to the head. And Acosta did pretty well to survive. I mean, he showed good defense overall, and was even kind of throwing back a little bit, trying to kind of hook with the hooker, so to speak. Trying to basically catch Tanaka slipping. Catch him with his defense, like not completely on guard, and see if he could score another knockout on that what was a perfect knockout record, perfect knockout streak. But pretty much from the round 5 onward, though, it was pretty much just the Kosei Tanaka show. He had really the better timing. Once his timing had pretty much got together in that fourth round, his hand speed was all there together. He was doing pretty good at kind of sticking and moving a little bit, although it seemed like he tended to stalk a little bit more, and Acosta was the one that was doing more of kind of the box and move routine in this fight throughout most of it. There were a few different moments where Acosta did manage to clip Tanaka and even momentarily stun him on a couple of different occasions. But it seemed like any time that occurred, whether it was in the 6th round or the 8th round, the 9th round, Tanaka completely took the play right back away from him with absolutely brutal body shots. Some of the most brutal body shots I think that you might see in just the entire sport of boxing. Because I mean, he really digs into him. You could like hear the impact of him. And you could definitely see the impact of him on Acosta's overall posture, and the fact that he would pretty much bend over, like almost get folded in half. And even though he was still throwing heavy shots of his own and still defending pretty well after those body shots, you could tell that those body shots were badly affecting him. There was also a couple of moments where Tanaka managed to land left hooks to the chin, as well as nice counter right crosses to the chin of Acosta on a couple of different moments where Acosta was actually having good moments in a particular round, and Tanaka would just completely take the play away by just stunning Acosta with one or two single shots. And just the heaviness of them. He's kind of almost reminded me of Kazuto Ioka when Ioka was reigning terror upon the 105 and 108 pound divisions, and of course, Ioka is now currently the WBA flyweight champion. But talk about him more in just a second. But Tanaka did really well. I thought he was from round 5 onward. He pretty much took over the entire fight. I thought Acosta wound up winning the 11th round. Came back, had a nice little bit of a flurry. Managed to it seemed like kind of momentarily stun a bit of a winded, tired Tanaka, who had been working hard and heavy throughout the entire fight. But I thought Tanaka definitely won the 12th round, completely secured his victory, secured his title, and he goes on and just goes to show world champion 5 weight in 5 fights, and two-weight world champion 8 fights. And it may appear as though he's going to be going after a unification for his next fight, because Ryoichi Taguchi was in the house. He was doing the Japanese commentary. The version I watched had English commentary, as I said before. Put the link in the description. And he basically called out Taguchi from ring center. He called Taguchi out, who was doing the commentary. Taguchi took the headphones off, got into the ring, basically said that he'd like to fight him. Taguchi said, "Yeah, I'll do it." Just name the time and the place, and they posed for pictures and the whole nine. So it's looking like there might be a fight happening between these two. Hopefully in the next few months. I think it's a fantastic fight. Incidentally, he also called out Akira Yagashi, the IBF light flyweight champion. Of course, Taguchi is the WBA champ. And Yagashi is actually going to be fighting tomorrow, defending his title against his mandatory Milan Melindo, in a fight that I think Melindo is definitely going to be competitive in, but I do favor Yagashi to win in a close but competitive fashion. Clear but close and competitive fashion. I think fights with Yagashi and Taguchi both are very, very intriguing. Yagashi a lot more of like a high speed, high volume fighter. Taguchi tends to be a little bit. I mean, Taguchi is actually still pretty high volume himself, but he brings a whole different dimension, and I mean that literally, because of the fact that he's actually taller and has longer arms. I think he has a 4.5-inch reach advantage over Tanaka, as well as a 1.5 or 2-inch height advantage over Tanaka. Whereas Tanaka is the one with the height and reach advantages over Yagashi. So it's just brings a different style of difficulty to that matchup. Incidentally, I do think that I'd favor Tanaka in a fight with Taguchi, should they fight coming up next, which it's looking like all signs are pointing to. And I think a lot of that is just because of the fact that what they've been doing recently. I thought Taguchi was kind of fortunate to get a split draw in his last fight against Carlos Canizales in New Year's of last year. Canizales gave him a lot of trouble with his hand speed and foot speed. Not necessarily so much with his power, but just the overall level of activity and movement that he was providing him. And I think that Tanaka could definitely duplicate that, especially considering the way that he boxed and moved and just completely took apart and destroyed Moises Fuentes in his fight previous to the one that I'm reporting on right now. And then, just coupled that with Taguchi's, struggling to kind of cut off the ring against Canizales. And, even though Taguchi is a pretty high volume fighter in his own right, I think that Tanaka stylistically holds an advantage there. I did think it was kind of interesting that he didn't call out the winner of Ganigan Lopez versus Kenshiro, although I guess that's because of the fact that he's not assuming that Kenshiro is actually going to win that fight. I think he thinks, as well as I think most of the people that kind of have the inside track on knowing what's what at the lowest weight classes, favor Ganiga Lopez in that fight. I definitely do. I think that he'll be able to outslick and outskill Kenshiro tomorrow. But it's anybody's guess. I mean, that could be another potential unification, probably after taking precedence after the likes of Taguchi and Yagashi, however. Especially considering the fact that I think Ganiga Lopez does still have to defend against Pedro Guevara immediately after this fight if he happens to win it. Or if Kenshiro wins it, he'll have to defend against Guevara. But Tanaka did just a really solid job here against Acosta. He's a young fighter, 21 years old. He's going to be 22 next month. Just going at the sport of boxing with gusto. He basically said before the Moises Fuentes fight, his goal is to become a 5-weight world champion. And I mean, he's looking like he's at the very least in the early stages, like he's on his way to doing something of the sort. Could potentially be a 2-weight and unified champion in just 10 fights into his career, which would be pretty damn impressive. And then who knows what awaits him at 112. You got Kazuto Ioka there, the current WBA flyweight champion. Tomorrow, the WBC title is on the line, although only for Daigo Higa, 12-0, 12 knockouts, Daigo Higa. against Juan Chiritos Hernandez, who missed weight, and he wound up giving up his title on the scale, so it's only eligible for Higa to actually win. But I mean, Tanaka against any of the flyweight champions, I think, is a very live fighter as well. I would actually favor him over Dani Nietes. I think he's very much 50-50 against Zhou Shiming. I'd probably slightly favor him over Zhou as well. The only guy I'd probably comfortably favor over Tanaka, or even just slightly favor him over Tanaka, would be Kazuto Yoko himself. Who's basically the best fighter at flyweight in the absence, or in the aftermath of Roman Gonzalez and Juan Francisco Estrada actually leaving the division. So I mean, fantastic win for Tanaka, and actually a pretty scrappy fight put up by Angel Acosta, even in a loss. I think there's definitely a possibility in the sometime in the future that he could become a champion. I thought he showed pretty solid skills. Definitely showed a lot of grit in order to be able to survive some of those tough moments against Tanaka. But Tanaka may happen to be one of these truly special fighters. Like Naoya Inoue. And of course, as I mentioned before, with Taguchi, he's the first and only man, the first man to go the distance with Inoue, albeit it was only the 10-round distance. So, if Tanaka was able to do something really impressive against Taguchi, that would definitely say something in terms of not only his profile, but I mean critically speaking as well, like in terms of his ability, his skills, and such. But I think that's going to do it for my review of Kosei Tanaka versus Angel Acosta, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.